In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. How are you doing this fine, beautiful Monday afternoon? I'm your host, Jake Johnson, and this is Untethered Live on a Monday night, Bible study night in the great book of Exodus. That's where we left off. That's where we're picking up. Exodus 26:22, chapter 26, verse 22, right in the middle of building a bunch of stuff, covering it with gold, making it shiny and pretty and expensive. I don't know that's a reason, but that's what we did. And right off the bat, we got some folks in the chat. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hello, MVTV, Kevin Cox, and lovely April. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Thank you all for coming tonight. Here's to you. Driving and listening. Well, it used to be driving and crying, so now driving and listening, that's even better, I think. A lot less tears and a lot more introspective thought. Kind of like it. Incidentally, this show was almost called Introspective, but I went with Untethered instead, because nobody, and I mean nobody, was using the word untethered because it's not technically a word. So I thought, being clever, I'd figure out something nobody else had. And I mean the month that I come up with that, 5 other Untetheds came out in different varieties. There's an Untethered song. There's an Untethered website. There's an Untethered channel on YouTube. There's a character named Untethered. Hey, Fab Daddy 44. Welcome into the chat. Welcome to the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You know. I'm drinking a cup of nice, hot, instant coffee because I'm much too lazy to brew it. I'm a Gentile anyway, you know. He brews. I do instant. Right off the bat, we got ourselves a brand new, bona fide, A+ certified sports update with Kevin Cox. The Georgia Badass Bulldogs beat the Mississippi Not So Badass Bulldogs. There's Bulldogs in Mississippi? Weird. Georgia wins SEC East and plays LSU Pussycats in December in SEC Bowl. Next week, we take on Kentucky. Go Dogs! Rolf! How about that for a sports update? I love it. April says, hello, everybody. Much love. Good to see you all here. I'm excited, yay. Well, do you want it now or do you want it at the end of the show? The little gift that I have for everybody. Have a great show. Thank you. Have a good show. I'm planning on having a great show. I'm also planning on seeing you more than 5 minutes. Come on now. Stick with me, buddy. You did so good last night. I understand, though. I know what's up. Whoa. This is a Bible study, not a sports venue. Well, it's a little bit of everything, but mostly Bible study. You are correct. Well, we got to have that sports update. I made a graphic. I got to use it. That's $40,000 for that graphic. And you think that I'm just going to let it sit in the background and not use it every chance I get? Come on now. That's where the budget went. Just kidding, by the way. Thanks for understanding. I do. I get it, but, you know. MVTV's in the background lurking. I am untethered. I love it. I am too. I'm untethered live. Continue, Jake. I'm trying. It's all good. I occasionally wake up shouting, Kevin Cox Sports Update, and it scares my cats. Are you saying I've shell-shocked you? LSU may start the water boy. You cannot spell loser without LSU. Correct. That is a very wise observation. Losers. But everybody in this channel is a winner, and we are going for it. Uh-oh. I'm going to have to check that out later. Somebody just responded to one of my many rants on the internet, which you could find if you look diligently enough. Scare them, MVTV. Scare them cats. Get pictures of them, and it'll make your channel skyrocket. Always film the cats. It's a smart move. It's my secret weapon. Good Lord help. Well, he is helping. That's why I'm here. He sent me to help you. So just hang on. I'm coming. Right on. You guys are so awesome. I had such a good time last night. And hope I'm having a good time tonight, too. Let me start the night off with a little gift for you guys. Before we get started, I'm going to play you a song. I didn't write it. It's not mine. But since it is Christmas season, I thought we'd get it started off the right way.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas with every Christmas card I write, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas with every Christmas card I write. May your days be and may all your Christmases be white. I'm dreaming of a white.
I want you guys to know that Christmas is just around the corner. And family is one of the most important things in the whole world. So as we go across Thanksgiving and into the Christmas season, I want you guys to hold fast to your families. Keep them close to you. Let them know how much you love them. Don't ever let a moment pass to tell somebody that you love them, because you never know. It may just happen, and you may not be here to tell them that forever. So make this season count. Praise God and love your family, and you'll never go wrong. And may all of you have a beautiful Christmas and a happy new year as we come around the corner into the 2023 season.
Your Christmases be white. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops listen and children listen to sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of white Christmas with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Ho, ho, ho. And now, on with the show. Well done. Sorry, Bing. New fave. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed that. That's my little Christmas gift to you guys. I know it ain't Christmas, but you know, we got to start it sometime. And it is customary to get closer and closer and closer to Halloween when we put the tree up, you know. If they had their way about it, we'd just turn around all the seasons in 1 week. But, you know, got to slow them down. And for God's sakes, stop with the pumpkin everything. April says, I'm driving. I got to stop now. Well, you probably should not be texting and driving. You absolutely got a point there. One holiday at a time, please. But it is nice. I got to do something with all this work I do. And I found these recordings from an old computer that I had. My first Mac, the really expensive one, died after much use. And I thought I had lost everything on it. But I was able to recover some stuff, and that was amongst it. And I was just excited to share it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's just a little token of my appreciation for your being here. And there's more where that came from. So, you know, you never know. I might throw something at you at some point. Shout out love. Everyone hit that like button. And please, love you so much. Back to driving. All right. Last night, we got into the schlag of the explanation of the building of the tabernacle and the furniture in the tabernacle and the stuff that goes with the tabernacle. It's all portable. It's all designed to be broken down and then toted by many people across the desert to the next place, because at this point in time, Israel, which hasn't been called Israel yet formally. I mean, the Bible is telling you it's Israel because it's a narrative, and we got to know who we're talking about. But they haven't been formally named that at the point where they become a nation. Right now, they're just nomadic wanderers. They're just a big, big group of people basically walking in circles in the desert shortly hereafter. Right now, they're at the Mount Sinai getting the law, and the law is what all of our civilization is based upon. So, as we get in, your voice was clearer on that recording. Thank you, sir. Yes, those recordings were made just before I got sick. And when I got sick, I got the cough, you know, the bad stuff. And then I got pneumonia because of it. And it destroyed my vocal cords and my ability to breathe. And I am just now getting back to where I can actually sing again, even though it's a little scratchy and I haven't got full control of my voice back and my breathing, but I'm working on it. So in another year, I should be back to normal, I hope. Maybe even better. All this hard work trying to get it back together may pay off in the end and make me a little bit of a better singer. I'm not the best singer in the world. I'm an entertainer. I've never claimed to be anything otherwise. However, I can do it pretty good, I think. So, what was I saying? Lost myself. I tried to contain myself, but I escaped. let's go down, shall we? The ever-present text tabernacle. That's right. We were building a tabernacle, and we're right in the middle of it. And we're talking about, at this point, we're talking about the boards. So it's kind of building it from the ground up and telling you all the little pieces that have to be put together and what order and how they're put together so that they'll hold and so that they'll be sturdy and strong and weatherproof. And for the sides of the tabernacle, westward shalt thou make 6 boards. Remember, southward and northward there were 6 boards and 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board, 2 sockets under another. So they're pinning together these boards to make a makeshift wall on either side. That's what we're talking about. And the 2 boards shalt thou make for the corners of the tabernacle in the 2 sides. And they shall be coupled together beneath, and they shall be coupled together above the head of it unto one ring. Thus shall it be for them both. They shall be for the 2 corners. Now, if you haven't figured it out, this tabernacle is put together with a hoop and loop and hook set. That's how they're holding it together. It's a little ring, and then they put a piece of metal in there, kind of like a pin, and that's how it's put together. There's no nails. There are some mortise and tenons. There are some ropes, but for the most part, it's held together by being pinned together. That also means it can be broken down quickly and rolled up and get out of here in a hurry if they have to. Caucasian says, I'm actually live on Living History's Mysteries. Excellent. And they shall be 8 boards in their sockets of silver, 16 sockets, 2 sockets under one board and 2 sockets under another board. And thou shalt make bars of shittim wood, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 for the 5 bars of the boards on the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards on the side of the tabernacle, and for the 2 sides westward. And in the middle bar, in the midst of the boards, shall reach from end to end. So these are like the supports for the 2 boards to hold it together. These specs, probably no coincidence Jesus was a carpenter, I'm saying. And also, when we finish this laborious, long description of how the tabernacle is put together, I want you to try and kind of picture how it goes together. So if you were flying above it, right, over the desert, and you looked down and saw it, it would be in the shape of a cross. And then all 12 tribes in groups of 2 would be all the way around it in its corners and on its ends according to the rank or size of the families, so that it would make a big sprawling cross over the desert. That's no coincidence either. So the tabernacle has 3 wings and then one long hallway. And in the center is a room. And in that room is a holiest of holies. That's the spot where the Ark of the Covenant goes. And it's cordoned off, and only the high priest can go in, and only under certain conditions, wearing certain garments at certain times. And that's where God would come down and sit on that throne on top of the Ark of the Covenant, the mercy seat, and talk with the high priest. So it's a pretty elaborate get-up, this whole thing. And thou shalt overlay the boards with gold, and make their rings of gold for places for the bars, and thou shalt overlay the bars with gold. So everything's overlaid with either gold, silver, or brass, depending on where it is, whether it's outside or inside, whether it needs to be weaker or stronger. And it all makes perfect sense. You could actually rebuild the tabernacle with these directions too, by the way. I wish somebody would do that. I know somebody has, but I wouldn't know who. And thou shalt rear up the tabernacle according to the fashion thereof, which was showed thee in the mount. And thou shalt make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet, and fine twined linen of cunning work, that means embroidered, with cherubims shall it be made. So there'll be cherubims embroidered all over the curtains. And in this case, it's a veil. And thou shalt hang it upon 4 pillars of shittim wood overlaid with gold. Their hooks shall be of gold upon the 4 sockets of silver. And thou shalt hang up the veil under the thatches, that thou mayest bring in thither within the veil the ark of the testimony. Now the veil is in the center of this cross, and you know how, if you picture the cross being like so, and then the square in the middle where each hallway comes off of that square is the holiest of holies, and they put up a curtain all the way around it. So that curtain is the veil in which they go into. And the veil shall divide unto you between the holy place and the most holy place. The most holy place is inside the veil. The holy place is outside the veil. And likewise, and in each hallway, there are 2 rows of pews, for lack of a better word, places for people to sit so that they can be ministered to. And thou shalt put the mercy seat upon the ark of the testimony in the most holy place. And thou shalt set the table without the veil, and the candlestick over against the table on the side of the tabernacle towards the south. That thou shalt put the table on the north side. So the candlestick on one side and the table on the other side over against the holiest of holies. So you go in, you eat, and then you go sit down. And thou shalt make an hanging for the door of the tent of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen, wrought with needlework. Same thing as the cunning work. Needlework is a little different than embroidery. It's more like sewing it into the fabric rather than pincing it. I don't know a lot about embroidery, but there is a difference. And thou shalt make for the hanging 5 pillars of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, and their hooks shall be of gold. And thou shalt cast 5 sockets of brass for them. And thou shalt make an altar of shittim wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits broad, a big square altar. The altar shall be 4 square. That means completely square in every direction. And the height thereof shall be 3 cubits. So it's pretty big altar. And thou shalt make horns of it upon the 4 corners thereof. His horns shall be of the same, and thou shalt overlay it with brass. So if you can picture this big altar, it's 3 cubits high and 5 cubits across in every direction, 4 squared. And then in every corner, there's a big horn sticking up, like the horn of a goat or something. Just a big pointy thing. Why? Because it looks bad. That's why. Awesome. And thou shalt make his pans to receive his ashes, and his shovels, and his basins, and his flesh hooks, and his fire pans, and all the vessels thereof shalt thou make of brass. Now, what are these things? They sound gruesome. Well, what is an altar? An altar is the place where you burn the sacrifice. What is that? That's cooking dinner. It's no different than a barbecue pit. That's what we're talking about, a barbecue pit. And if you have a barbecue pit, or if you've ever been around one, you know that you have a shovel to dig out the ashes so it don't get too full of ashes and it won't burn. And you have flesh hooks so you can flip the meat over. And you got fire pans, which is where you put the ashes or the coals and burn. The ashes will fall through the fire pan into the lower vessels. So that's what into the basins, and that's what we're talking about here. This is a big barbecue pit. The barbecue pit of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And thou shalt make for it a grate of networked brass. That means a grate, metal grate, so that the ashes can fall through. Put the coals on top, and the ashes fall through. And upon the net shalt thou make 4 brazen rings in the 4 corners thereof, so that you can pick it up. Understand? Get underneath it. And thou shalt put it under the compass of the altar beneath, that the net may be even to the midst of the altar. So it's right underneath in the middle. So when you're cooking the thing on top, all the stuff that makes the fire goes underneath on the net, and under the net are the fire pans and the basins. And thou shalt make staves for the altar, staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with brass. Why brass? Because it needs to be stronger. We're picking up fire now. Gold is a little weak. It's a little soft. It'll bend real easy. Brass is a little stronger. And the staves shall be put into the rings, and the staves shall be upon the 2 sides of the altar to bear it. Hallow with boards shalt thou make it. As it was showed thee in the mount, so shall they make it. And thou shalt make the court of the tabernacle, that's the outside. For the south side southward there shall be hangings for the court of fine twined linen of 100 cubits long for one side, and 20 pillars thereof, and their 20 sockets shall be of brass, and the hooks of the pillar, and their fillets shall be of silver. What is a fillet? Well, you got your staff going through the hole, the ring, and the ring is held on by a hook, and the hook is covered over by a fillet. There you go. And for the breadth of the court on the west side shall be hangings of 50 cubits. Now the first one was 100 cubits, and the second one is 50 cubits. So you see there's a long side and a short side. Their pillars 10, and their sockets 10. Same set as before. Brass and silver. And the breadth of the court on the east side eastward shall be 50 cubits. And the hangings on the one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits, and their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And on the other side shall be hangings 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And for the gate of the court shall be an hanging of 20 cubits of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen wrought with needlework, which is slightly different than embroidery. And their pillars shall be 4, and their sockets 4. So if you can imagine what's happening here. Now that the tabernacle has been made, it's laid out. Now we're going around it and covering it all the way around. And then after that, we're going to build a big fence around it, a big square fence around the whole thing. And inside of that fence will be the courtyard, and inside of there will be the altar and the sea, which is a big basin that they call a sea because it's so big, full of water, where the priests can come wash themselves and get ready for the services. And the people will be able to mingle out there and eat, and then go into the tabernacle and be ministered into, and then go out the other side as they leave. So it's kind of like a express lane. It's God on the express lane. Self-checkout, baby. All right. And the pillars round about the court shall be filleted with silver. Their hooks shall be of silver, and their sockets of brass. The length of the court shall be 100 cubits, and the breadth 50 everywhere. That's all the way around it. 100 cubits, 50 cubits, 100 cubits, 50 cubits. and the height 5 cubits of fine twined linen in their sockets of brass, and the vessels of the tabernacle, in all the service thereof, and all the pins thereof, and all the pins of the court shall be of brass. Brass is stronger than gold, remember that. And thou shalt command the children of Israel that they bring thee pure oil, olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn always. So one of the tithes for the tabernacle, if you're a member, if you go to that tabernacle, if you're one of the 12 tribes, some of them were charged with always providing the oil to burn the lamps so that they burn continually. So there's never dark inside the tabernacle. It's always opened. It was quite literally the first 24-hour store. It's open 24 hours a day. When it's set up, I don't figure that they're burning the lamps if they're in transit, if they're moving. But when it's set up, there's always supposed to be bread on the showbread table, and there's always supposed to be lights burning, and there's always supposed to be people in there to minister should they come in. MVTV says, me writing this down? I thought you were writing this down. Thy and thee are in trouble. Sorry, this is really impressive to me. Yeah, it is to me too. But yeah, somebody had to write all this down, and I imagine it was quite laborious, probably worse than reading it. In the tabernacle of the congregation without the veil on the outside, which is before the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall order it from evening till morning before the Lord. That means Moses' brother Aaron and his sons. Those are the Levites, by the way. Aaron is a Levite. That makes Moses a Levite too, by the way. They don't mention that, but that's the case. But Aaron, the Levite, and his children, the Levites, were charged to be the priests of the tabernacle forever. So all Levites are priests, and only the Levites were given permission to touch the Ark of the Covenant. No one else can touch it or they'll die. If they even put their hand on the side, they die. Only the Levites can bear the Ark. It's kind of a burden, but it's also kind of a blessing. All right, here we go. It shall be a statute forever unto their generations on the behalf of the children of Israel. That means that on behalf of all the children of Israel, the Levites will take up the mantle of always being a priest and ministering from evening till morning every night. So some of them preach, some of them run the church, some of them handle the money, some of them handle the people that work in the church. It's all a big business. And take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother, and his sons with him, from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office, even Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. They are the priests now. Do you think it's out there somewhere? Probably pieces of it are. We're talking, this is about 4,000 years ago. Maybe more, maybe 4,500 years ago. So if there's anything left, it's fragmented and rotten, you know. I'm sure there's pieces of it in museums, and people probably don't even know what it is, you know. Some of the gold may have been melted down and reused for other things. You might be wearing it on your finger and don't even know, you know. It's one thing, they don't make any more gold. That's why it's a precious metal. All the gold in the world is the same gold that was here back then, used for these things that we're talking about. So, however that happened over the centuries, however gold is used, there is no more gold. There's a finite amount. So that means the likelihood of some of your jewelry having been in one of these places at some point in history is not zero. And it may be buried in the sea. May very well be. May be in a church somewhere, in one of those monasteries that nobody's allowed into. Who knows? And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for glory and for beauty. So they had a sense of style even back then. And thou shalt speak unto all that are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. What does that mean? Well, you can't just walk in and talk to God. There has to be some form of pageantry and some form of protection. So the garments in which the high priest, in this case would be Aaron, was kind of like a suit of armor. They're going to get into it now, and it's going to be really elaborate and really crazy sounding. But if you'll think about it in terms of protection, which they don't explicitly say, but you got to kind of read between the lines, it makes a lot more sense why all these things are there. Yeah, because they all sucked it up in their vacuums all those years. Maybe. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate and an ephod, which is like a vest that goes over the breastplate, and a robe, and a broidered coat, and a mitre, which is a hat, and a girdle. And they shall make holy garments for Aaron thy brother and his sons, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And they shall take gold, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine linen. And they shall make the ephod of gold, which is the vest, of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine twined linen with cunning works, which is embroidery. So it's covered over with 4 layers of different types of material on top of a breastplate that is covered with stones, on top of an ephod, which is made of gold. So this is basically a thick suit of armor. It shall have 2 shoulder pieces, or, you know, if you think about a suit of armor, they got these cups that go over the shoulders and the elbows and the knees. 2 shoulder pieces. Thereof joined at the 2 edges thereof, so it shall be joined together. And the curious girdle of the ephod, which is upon it, shall be of the same according to the work thereof, even of gold, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. So you've got the girdle, which shores up your midsection, your breastplate and girdle. And then it's curious because you don't understand it. You don't know why it's there, but it's there to protect them. And thou shalt take 2 onyx stones and grave on them the names of the children of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone and 6 on the other, according to their birth. So from youngest to oldest, or oldest to youngest, however you want to do it, 6 on each stone, big onyx stones. This is the beauty part. With the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet, shalt thou engrave the 2 stones with the names of the children of Israel. Thou shalt make them to be set in ouches of gold, or couches of gold. So they're like inside of a little pocket, so that it's like setting a ring, you know. It's got gold around it that holds the diamond end. That's what an ouch is. If that makes any sense. And thou shalt put the 2 stones upon the shoulders of the ephod for stones of memorial unto the children of Israel. And Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord upon his 2 shoulders for a memorial. And thou shalt make ouches of gold, and 2 chains of pure gold at the ends of wreathen work shalt thou make them, and fasten the wreathen chains to the ouches. So the stones are in ouches placed on the shoulder piece and then attached to a gold chain that comes down and attaches to the ephod. So if it falls off, it don't hit the floor. So it's protected with the chain, and also it looks cool. When they're done, this is going to be like the best thing Michael Jackson ever wore. And thou shalt make the breastplate of judgment with cunning work. After the work of the ephod, thou shalt make it of gold, of blue, of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine twined linen shalt thou make it. 4 square, perfectly square on each side. It shall be being doubled. So they make 4 square and then fold it over so it's 2 layers thick. And then you put the stones across it. So it's 3 layers thick. Big protection. Can you imagine what being in the presence of God must be like if you're required to wear something like this every time you go in? Think about it. A span shall be the length thereof, and a span shall be the breadth thereof. Now, I don't know what a span is and how it differs from a cubit, but clearly it's different. And I think a span is the width of your hand. I think. I don't know that for sure, but I think the width of your palm, or maybe from fingertip to the bottom of your palm, one way or the other, I think is a span. Seems like I've read that somewhere. I'm not sure. And thou shalt set in its settings of stone, even 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be sardius, a topaz, and a carbuncle. This shall be the first row. Now that's 4 rows of 3, or 3 stones in 4 rows. That's 12, just so you know. Google who? Well, that's probably a good idea. Let me look it up. Give me just a second. Well, that was helpful. The full extent of something from end to end, the amount of space that something covers. I knew that. I'm sticking with my original statement. It's the span of your hand, because a cubit is the span of your forearm to the tips of your fingers. So a span is a quarter of that. Sorry, I had to ask. I just noticed your profile pic. It's a noose, huh? I don't think so. Oh. You weren't talking to me. I got you. Sorry, I had to ask. It's a historical Western icon related to the channel name, and that's all. And a running bet to see how long I can get away with it before the outrage. Having fun with it. It's very intelligent. I'm with you 100% on that. All right. And the second row shall be an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row shall be a ligure, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row shall be a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. And they shall be set in gold in their enclosings. And the stones shall be with the names of the children of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of a signet, every one with his name, shall they be according to the 12 tribes. And thou shalt make upon the breastplate chains at the end of the wreathen work of pure gold. This is a very elaborate breastplate, and probably incredibly valuable. Whoever has it, they ain't letting go of it, I can promise you that. Why are they building Obama Temple? They found a noose left at the site. There was a $100,000 reward for the capture of the person who left it. Not joking. I know, I saw it on the news. And it's probably the same thing that was in the garage and at the NASCAR place when they found the noose hanging there. Turned out it was a garage door puller. It's probably something like that. I don't know why they keep doing that. I don't know what they gain from it. Maybe political power, maybe just getting attention put on them by all the excitement. Who knows why this keeps happening, but it does keep happening. Go figure. I don't know. I have no answer for that one. Does Sasquatch have an alibi? Yes, he's sick. And thou shalt make upon the breastplate 2 rings of gold, and thou shalt put 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And thou shalt put the 2 wreathen chains of gold in the 2 rings which are on the ends of the breastplate. So the breastplate will be attached to the ephod by golden chains that go around and attached to each end, each corner, by rings. And the other 2 ends of the 2 wreathen chains shalt thou fasten to the 2 ouches, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod before it. So it hangs down, the breastplate hangs and is loose, so that any vibrations won't hit the body because it'll bounce off of the loose material. Kind of like when you soundproof a room by hanging a loose carpet on the wall. It stops the vibrations. Kind of interesting, that. And thou shalt make 2 rings of gold, and thou shalt put them upon the 2 ends of the breastplate in the border thereof, which is in the side of the ephod inward. And the 2 other rings of gold shalt thou make, and shalt put them on the 2 sides of the ephod underneath, towards the forepart thereof, over against the other coupling thereof, above the curious girdle of the ephod. And they shall bind the breastplate by the rings thereof unto the rings of the ephod with a lace of blue. So it's not only attached by chains, but it's also laced underneath like a shoe. So this breastplate ain't moving. It's in there. It's loose, but it ain't coming off. That it may be above the curious girdle of the ephod, that the breastplate be not loosed from the ephod. Like I said, it's there, it's loose and it fitting, but it will not come off of the ephod. It is part of it. It is laced to it, and it is chained to it. So those precious stones ain't hitting the floor. That's what I'm saying. And Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate of the judgment upon his heart, where he goeth, when he goeth in unto the holy place, for a memorial before the Lord, all capital letters, that's God himself, continually. Every time he goes in, he has to put this getup on. And thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and Thummim. I just had a recent argument with somebody about this on some platform, about the meaning of the words Urim and Thummim. This is a very unusual word. It's not something we hear every day, and people are quite curious about what that is. Is it some magical device? Is it some technological thing? Is it something? No, it's a box, and inside of the box there's 2 rocks. one white and one black. Onyx and alabaster, if you will. Who knows? And what you do is you ask God a yes or no question. Shall we go to war today? And then you reach in and pull out a rock. And whatever color it is, the color is assigned to the answer, yes or no. Black, no. White, yes. And there's your answer. That's how you talk to God on the field. That's what a Urim and Thummim is. They still use a sort of Urim and Thummim in the Masonic halls of today, where they will cast votes by yes or no, by putting in a black stone or a white stone. Everybody's given 2 stones, black and white. And then they're asked a question, and they pass the box around, and whatever you put in, that's the answer. And then at the end of the meeting, they count all the rocks, and whichever one has the most rocks wins. And it's anonymous. Nobody knows who put what rock in. That's the reverse of a Urim and Thummim, but it's the same principle. But there you go, folks. That's what it is. And it is very interesting, isn't it? And they shall be upon Aaron's heart when he goeth in before the Lord, and Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before the Lord continually. And thou shalt make the robe of the ephod all of blue, and there shall be an hole in the top of it, in the midst thereof. It shall have a binding of woven work round about the hole of it, as it were the hole of a habergeon, that it not be rent. What is a habergeon? Or a habergoen? Or a habergeon? However you want to say it. I will tell you what it is, but I'm going to look it up just to make sure I'm right. What is a habergeon? It's a medieval jacket of chain mail, shorter than a hauberk. So a hauberk is like a long coat of chain mail, and a habergeon is a short one. So this, what he's saying, the robe is like a linen habergeon. And the hole at the top of it is so your head can go through. And then all the way around, it's wound with a winding all the way around so that it can't tear. So it's reinforced. Yes, chainmail. That's basically what it is. So you're wearing it like a poncho, this robe. So you got the breastplate on, you got the girdle on, right? And then you got the 2 shoulder pieces on, and then you put this poncho over top of it. Then tie it all up. And this word rent means tear, so that it not be torn. And beneath upon the hem of it shalt thou make pomegranates of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, round about the hem thereof. So around the bottom border of this robe, there'll be embroidered pomegranates, and a golden bell, and a pomegranate, and another bell, and a pomegranate. So it's pomegranate, bell, all the way around the bottom. Upon the hem of the robe round about. And it shall be upon Aaron to minister. And his sound shall be heard when he goeth in unto the holy place before the Lord, and when he cometh out, that he die not. What does that mean? Well, the only thing separating them is a veil. It's cloth. So when he's in there talking to God, everybody outside can hear him, hear the conversation. So it's not a secret. They just can't be privy to it. They can't go in there with him. The Bible does not say not to eat steak. In fact, it gives you permission to, so you're safe there, Kev. I wish I had a steak now. Thank you. And thou shalt make a plate of pure gold, and grave upon it, like the engravings of a signet, holiness to the Lord. Amen. Holiness to the Lord, in all capital letters. It's very important that that be there on this plate. And thou shalt put it on a blue lace, that it may be upon the mitre, or the hat. Upon the forefront of the mitre shall it be. So he's wearing this big funny hat, and on the front of it is a plate that says holiness to the Lord. And it shall be upon Aaron's forehead. Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things, which the children of Israel shall hallow in all their holy gifts. And it shall be always upon his forehead, that he may be accepted before the Lord. That means God wants to see it, so he can't take it off. It's always there. He wearing a headband with holiness to the Lord written on it, as a symbol of him bearing the iniquity of all the children's holy things, all their gifts brought before the Lord for salvation or whatever. When at war, always eliminate anyone in a big hat. So the Jews wear big funny hats. I've found, though, that the bigger and funnier the hat, the more weirdness is about. So those guys that have the big cheese hats, there's some strangeness going on with those folks. It ain't like this hat. This is a perfectly reasonable hat. This whole outfit, as outlandish as it sounds that he's got to wear, is actually keeping him alive, because he's going before the presence of the Lord, and you can't do that without dying. So this suit of armor is to protect him so that he can go in and converse with God. I believe it says he has to walk in backwards, too, and we'll find out. And thou shalt embroider the coat of fine linen, and thou shalt make the mitre of fine linen, and thou shalt make the girdle of needlework. And for Aaron's sons thou shalt make coats, and thou shalt make for them girdles, and bonnets shalt thou make for them for glory and beauty. A bonnet is like a hat that you tie around your head. So they had to look silly while they walked in. He got the big proud hat. They had to wear bonnets. You bet my sweet, pretty blue bonnet. And thou shalt put them upon Aaron thy brother and his sons with him, and shalt anoint them, and consecrate them, and sanctify them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt make them linen breeches to cover their nakedness. So they got to wear pants underneath this robe. From the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach. That's what breeches do. And that's how you spell breeches, by the way. There's no I in breeches. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons when they come in unto the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to minister in the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die. You see, here's the added bonus thing that most people don't realize. Not only have they been appointed priests, but if they screw up, they die. If they walk in carrying sin of any kind, they die. They can't even have bad thoughts, or they'll die right there on the spot. You have to be perfect when you're before the Lord. That must have been quite a job. And not all of them succeeded, by the way. One of Aaron's sons got killed that I'm aware of right off the bat. That's right. If your hand touches metal, I swear by my blue floral bonnet, I will end you. Mal while wearing a dress. I think he said pretty blue bonnet, but whatever. You got where my head went. It shall be a statute forever unto him and his seed after him. So not only him, but all of his grandchildren have to be priests too. All the Levites are appointed to be priests. And this is the thing that thou shalt do unto them to hallow them. Now you want to know what the word hallowed means? About to find out. To minister unto me in the priest's office, take one young bullock and 2 rams without blemish, and unleavened bread and cakes unleavened, tempered with oil, and wafers unleavened, anointed with oil. Of wheaten flour shalt thou make them, cornbread. And thou shalt put them into one basket, and bring them in the basket with the bullock and the 2 rams. And Aaron and his sons thou shalt bring unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and shalt wash them with water. They can't even walk in without being washed. Yes, Mel, captain of the Serenity. Al, captain of the Serenity. Firefly. That was a Firefly reference. There was a deep cut. You got it. After they were washed with water, and thou shalt take the garments and put upon Aaron the coat and the robe of the ephod and the breastplate, and gird him with the curious girdle of the ephod. And thou shalt put the mitre upon his head, and put the holy crown upon the mitre that says holiness to the Lord. And thou shalt bring his sons and put coats upon them, and thou shalt gird them with girdles, Aaron and his sons, and put the bonnets on them. And the priest's office shall be theirs for a perpetual statute. And thou shalt consecrate Aaron and his sons, and thou shalt cause a bullock to be brought before the tabernacle of the congregation, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the bullock. And thou shalt kill the bullock before the Lord by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And thou shalt take of the blood of the bullock, and put it upon the horns of the altar with thy fingers, like this. And pour all the blood beside the bottom of the altar round about, I'm guessing. And thou shalt take all the fat that covereth the inwards, and the caul that is above the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and burn them upon the altar. And the flesh of the bullock, and his skin, and his dung shalt thou burn with fire outside the camp. It is a sin offering. This is part of the consecration and hallowing of the priests before they can enter into the tabernacle. So they've been washed, and they've produced a sin offering that all hands were part of. They had to have their hands on it when it died. And then they burn all the things, and then they pour out the blood, and then they take the stuff that's bad outside of the camp and burn it until it's gone. Ashes. And thou shalt also take 1 ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram, and thou shalt slay the ram, and thou shalt take his blood and sprinkle it round about upon the altar, like so. Flick it. And thou shalt cut the ram in pieces, symbolizing the Hebrew blood covenant, separating the ram into 2 pieces and laying it on the ground and walking between the midst, which is where the expression, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, comes from. And what precedes that is, I will fear no evil, for the Lord is my shepherd. There you go, Hebrew blood covenant. 101. And wash the inwards of him, cut it in pieces and wash it, and his legs, and put them unto his pieces and unto his head. So you stack it up after you've cut it into pieces and washed it all, then you stack it back up. Head, legs, pieces. And thou shalt burn the whole ram upon the altar. It is a burnt offering unto the Lord. It is a sweet savor, an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Why? Because that ram tastes good. That's why. It's like a steak. Smells good, too. You ever smell a cooking animal? It's delicious. And thou shalt take the other ram, Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram. Then shalt thou kill the ram. Why are they doing that? It's kind of like when you're a kid and your dad makes you skin a deer with him, because you have to be part of the process. You have to fully understand where your food comes to appreciate the sacrifice of that animal for your sustenance. And for you to not know and not partake of the actual slaying of the animal and dressing it and doing all the functions, you're kind of cheating yourself out of the responsibility of knowing where your food comes from. It's a very sacred thing, and hunters do this all the time. They talk about it, but not quite in so graphic a detail. But nonetheless, this whole process is about being responsible. It's about taking part in the ritual of making these offerings to God, because these are just punk kids. They don't know any better. They don't know anything about the sacrifice of an animal or the meaning of it or the reason for it. That's why they have to put their hands on it and be part of it. Thou shalt kill the ram and take his blood and put it upon the tip of the right ear of Aaron, and upon the tip of the right ear of his sons, and upon the thumb of their right hand, and upon the great toe of their right foot, and sprinkle the blood upon the altar round about. This is to signify that they've done it. They're part of it. They've got their right hand, which is the power, their right foot, which is the direction you're walking, and their right ear, signifying you're paying attention, you're listening. And thou shalt take the blood that is upon the altar, and of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it upon Aaron, and upon his garments, and upon his sons, and upon their garments with him. And he shall be hallowed, and his garments, and his sons garments with him. Hallowed. They are now clean and pure and ready to be in the presence of Almighty God. Also, thou shalt take of the ram the fat at the rump, and the fat that covereth the inwards, and the caul above the liver, which is like the gallbladder, I think. I don't know what it is. Caul. Look it up. And the two kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and the right shoulder, for it is a ram of consecration. And 1 loaf of bread, and 1 cake of oiled bread, and 1 wafer out of the basket of the unleavened bread that is before the Lord. And thou shalt put it all in the hands of Aaron and in the hands of his sons, and shalt wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. What does that mean? Hey, look at here. I got some meat and some cornbread. I don't know. I don't understand the significance of the wave offering, but there's a heave offering where you heave it up. And there's a wave offering where you wave it. Sin offering, peace offering, all kinds of offerings. But they had meanings in those days. There's a reason for it. It just gets lost in translation, I think. Wave offering before the Lord. And thou shalt receive them of their hands, and burn them upon the altar for a burnt offering, for a sweet savor before the Lord. It is an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And thou shalt take the breast of the ram of Aaron's consecration, and wave it for a wave offering before the Lord, and it shall be thy part. They get to eat the white meat, the breast. Far out. Do not make him swear on the bonnet. Sasquatch, are you a Democrat? Because you sure are not right, meaning you're left. I think he is right. Either way. And thou shalt sanctify the breast of the wave offering, and the shoulder of the heave offering, which is waved, and which is heaved up, of the ram of the consecration, even of that which is for Aaron, and of that which is for his sons. It shall be Aaron's and his sons by a statute forever from the children of Israel. So basically, when they kill an animal and cook it, they get the good part. They get the wing and they get the breast. Everybody else gets the short thigh and the nasty parts. So forever they get to eat high on the hog, as we used to say in the old days. They get the good meat, the good fatty meat that's good for your sustenance forever. What does it mean to sanctify something, to make it pure, to make it clean, to make it whole? Let me look up the word sanctify and give you a definition. To set apart or declare holy, to consecrate. May God sanctify his soul, free from sin or purify. That's what sanctify means. To set apart, to make holy, to free from sin and to purify. That's what sanctification is. Consecration is like setting something up to make it ready to be useful. Let me find this. Definition of consecration. The action of making or declaring something, typically a church, sacred. To declare that it's ready. You sanctify it and then you consecrate it, meaning you make it pure and then you declare that it is pure. That's what sanctify and consecrate means. Hope that helps. Okay, there had to be some physical act involved versus like honoring in a great way. Yes, the physical act is killing the animal and sprinkling the blood about and putting the bad parts outside of the camp so only the good parts is inside the camp, and then it's washed and it's cooked, and then you get a certain cake and a certain wafer to go with it, and then you offer that to the Lord and then you consume it. So that makes you sanctified, pure, without sin. You have now been purified. The blood atones for sin. This was man's idea, not God's idea, but God went along with it, much like when they wanted a flesh and blood king to worship rather than a God. So he gave them a king, and that turned out bad. And he even told them, this is what's going to happen if you take a man for a king. You're going to lose your sons, you're going to go to war, you're going to be taxed heavily, and everything's going to fall apart in the end. And thus far, it's been that way. It is for a heave offering, and it shall be an heave offering from the children of Israel for the sacrifice of their peace offerings, even their heave offering unto the Lord. And the holy garments of Aaron shall be his sons after him, to be anointed therein, and to be consecrated in them. And that his son, that is priest, in his stead, shall put them on for 7 days, when he cometh into the tabernacle of the congregation to minister into the holy place. So he has to wear all of that clean and pure for 7 days. He has to stay clean and pure before he goes into the tabernacle to preach. I swear, dragged to years of catechisms, and all I can recall is coloring pictures of Bible scenes. Here I'm learning, doing their job, Jake. Thanks. Hey, brother, it's my pleasure to do so. I can't think of a better calling. I can't think of a more honest job, and I'm doing the best I can do by it. And it's an honest job because I ain't making hardly anything. But that's not why we're here. We're here to learn. And if you're learning, then I'm doing my job, and that's good. So thank God and praise God for that. And that son that is priest in his stead shall put those clothes of his on and wear them for 7 days before coming into the tabernacle of the congregation to minister in the holy place. And thou shalt take a ram of the consecration and seethe his flesh in the holy place. cut it up. And Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram and the bread that is in the basket by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. They can't even eat inside. They have to eat in the doorway. And they shall eat those things wherewith the anointment was made, to consecrate and to sanctify them. But a stranger shall not eat thereof, because they are holy. These food items are holy, and only the priests can eat thereof. And if aught of the flesh of the consecration or of the bread remain until morning, then thou shalt burn the remainder with fire, and it shall not be eaten, because it is holy. So you only eat while the eating's good, and if there's anything left over that you didn't eat, you burn it with fire. By the way, my mom nearly cried when I mentioned I was doing Bible studies, if not consistent. God bless you, MVTV, and tell your mother she did a good job raising you. That's inspiring, MVTV. You're making me choke up. Jake needs to know that. Well, thank you, sir. You're making me choke up now. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. And thus shalt thou do unto Aaron and unto his sons according to all things which I have commanded thee. 7 days shalt thou consecrate them, and thou shalt offer every day a bullock for a sin offering for atonement, and thou shalt cleanse the altar when thou hast made an atonement for it, and thou shalt anoint it and sanctify it every time. So you use the altar, and then you clean it afterwards, so that the next time it's clean when you make the new offering the next day. And every day they had to sacrifice a bullock and a ram every day. That's a lot of animals going, but you got to eat too, if you think about it. So this is feeding a whole congregation of people. 7 days thou shalt make an atonement for the altar and sanctify it. And it shall be an altar most holy. Whatsoever toucheth the altar shall be holy. Nothing dirty gets to touch the altar. Now, this is that which thou shalt offer upon the altar: 2 lambs of the first year, 1-year-old lamb, day by day continually. Every day 2 lambs. 1 lamb thou shalt offer in the morning, and the other thou shalt offer in the evening. And with the 1 lamb 1/10 deal of flour mingled with the 4th part of an hin of beaten oil. A hin is a container. Beaten oil is like mayonnaise, if that makes any sense. Have you ever whipped oil before? Put a little egg white in it and whip it. It turns into like a thick mayonnaise-looking substance. Might even be mayonnaise, I don't know. And the 4th part of an hin of wine for a drink offering. God has no problem sacrificing animals, so that reassures me there's peace for the critters we don't understand. Well, yes. First of all, the animals were put here for meat or for burden. That's why they exist. So they don't live in the same way that we live. They are alive and they are in heaven because God talks about them in Revelations. But to kill an animal is way more humane than anything they're going to experience out in the wild. So you either get the first year, it's been alive for a year, which means it's probably getting ready to mature into mating. So you get it before it mates. Or you get an old one. If you're hunting, you shoot for one that's already spread its seed. You don't kill the young ones because they still got life. So it's had a long life, and then it goes peacefully in the night. It never knows what hit them if you shoot them right. So that's way more humane than being frozen to death or torn apart by wolves or whatever. So, but yes, there's a peace for the animals that you eat. And you should be thankful for that animal because it is a sacrifice so that you can have sustenance. So that animal's death means your life. So you should always be grateful for that, and you should really know where your food comes from and how to prepare it, because that's all part of the process. It's a very visceral thing. It's very archaic in nature. It goes all the way back to the beginning. It bothers me to see the cattle sometimes, but they do have blank stares and covered with their own excrement and well fed and protected throughout their time. That's true. They're not real smart either, but they are loving animals and they make great pets. But cattle are for beasts of burden, and you can eat them. They're real strong so that they can pull stuff. Animals were meant to do what they do. That's why God created them. And there's also animals you're not supposed to eat too, by the way, that have other jobs like scavengers. You're not supposed to eat scavengers, and that includes pork. I'm sorry, guys. I love pork too, but you're not supposed to eat that because those things clean the earth. It's part of the self-cleaning process of the earth, scavengers. So there are meats that you can eat, and there are meats you shouldn't eat. And it's for that reason, no other reason. One lamb shalt thou offer in the morning, and the other lamb thou shalt offer in the evening. With one lamb, I read that. And the other lamb shalt offer in the evening, and shalt do thereto according to the meat offering of the morning, and according to the drink offering thereof, for a sweet savor, an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And that's where we're going to stop today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to pick up next Sunday on 2942. I hope that you learned something. I hope you gathered something out of this, and I hope you felt peace by the knowledge that God provided for you so that you knew. Won't you do me a favor while you're sitting there pondering about what we talked about after I take a swallow? Delicious. Now, how about do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you get notifications of when I'm going to be online and when my new videos drop. Smash that like button. It's free and it's right in front of you. It takes no effort at all, and it really does help the channel with the algorithms, and it helps us get recommended to other people. Won't you do that? Share this video with somebody you love. Better yet, share it with somebody you don't love. Bring them into the family, make them part of the fold, be part of their solutions, not part of their problems. Leave comments down below and let me know what you're thinking about. Question me, curse me, bless me, challenge me, confront me, conform with me, drink my Kool-Aid, make your own Kool-Aid. As long as you're thinking critical, that's what I want. Critical thought coming from that brain of yours. And hey, if you love the Word of God and you can see the value in what I'm trying to create, or if you feel led to send tithes, offerings, or love offerings, or if you just like to support the channel, or you just want to pat me on the back and say, hey, good job, Jake, you can do that. You can go to paypal.me/jakejohnsonband. Or if you're a CashApp user, you can go to $JakeJohnsonBand. Every little bit helps. It's a win-win. It's a blessing for me. It's a blessing for you, too. God notices these things. We do live in a reciprocal universe. Ask, and ye shall be answered. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Give, and ye shall receive. What are you receiving? Bet your bottom dollar it's something valuable. The Word and the knowledge of God. There you go. And I will do everything in my power to be worthy of your support, and I appreciate you. You're helping me survive. I dedicate a lot of time to this, so every little bit helps. Thank you. Now, won't you go find us on Rumble and on Spotify, on iTunes and Amazon Prime and iHeartRadio and all the other places where podcasts are downloaded. And now, I will take every one of your questions, comments, criticisms, catharses, cackles, cantankerous contributions. Yep, that's where I'm stopping. Hey, there's a late comer in. Hi, Margie, how you doing? Welcome to the show. It's over. Maybe you have a question. I'll answer it. How are you guys doing? Did you enjoy the show? Did you learn anything? Did you feel excited? Do you feel scared? Do you feel noodly? Do you have tingling in between your toenails? It's probably not a good thing. Love it, Jake. It was a great read. Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that. I felt confident by it. It's one of those sloggy books that's hard to get through, but loaded with double entendres and extra knowledge that's always good and educational. Very inspiring and heartwarming and educational for this Reformed Catholic. Thank you, sir. Says the guy with a noose for a picture. Well, I'll see your noose, and I'll raise you a kitty cat. I think it's fine. Rope's got to do something, you know. I enjoyed the study. Did you catch it? Did you watch most of it? I appreciate you. You're always welcome, and you can pitch in and talk every now and then if you like to. April says, hi, Aunt Debbie. Love you, true. Western history. That's right. It's actually Eastern history, but conscripted into the West. Circumscribed by the East. What a deluge of information this book is. It'll just rattle your brain with stuff. First of all, trying to picture that tabernacle as it goes together, trying to figure out how all those little pieces fit together. That took a solid 10 years of my life. Got it, though. I got a good idea how it goes. And I hope I explained it well enough that you could mentally picture it, because it's otherwise difficult to wrap your head around it if you can't picture it. So I'm so happy, and keep on coming, please. We love you all. April, you are a fantastic grade A, USDA approved cheerleader. I am so grateful for you. Thank you. There must have been one built to spec somewhere in the world. I think so. I think there's been a few people attempt to build it. I know there's been people who tried to build other things that are in the Bible, and they've come away from it either completely confused or pleasantly surprised, one or the other. The biggest one is in Kentucky, and it's called Noah's Ark. I think it's in Kentucky. I think that's where they built it at, somewhere over there. Anyway, there's a website called Answers in Genesis, and you can find Noah's Ark from that. And they built the whole thing to scale, and it is magnificent. And you can go inside of it, and they got little shops and museums all through it, and it's pretty cool. And quite big. It gives you a real feel for what they were talking about when they described it in the Bible, because they built it according to the Bible specs. I associate you with nothing but good. Salute. That's a fantastic compliment right there. If you only knew. No, I'm just kidding. She is good. She's one of the best. A true believer. True blue. And loyal. I've never known anyone as loyal. I didn't say that right. Like people who show up at times and have nothing but positive expectations. That's right. We got what you meant. April and Kevin sure love you, Jake. They really love the word too. Yes, ma'am. I try to inspire that feeling in everybody. I am quite lovable once you get past my gruff exterior and my misanthropic nature and my, curmudgeonly attitude. After you get past all that, waft through the thick wave of cigarette smoke and caffeine, jump over the overdoses, fall right into my personality. You find out I'm quite a nice guy. Chopped liver over here. That sounds good. You know what I had for dinner? Noodles. Because I'm a bachelor and that's how I cook. I sure would love a steak, though. I hadn't had one in a long time. But we got Thanksgiving coming up, and you know good and well I'm going to stuff it to the gills, buddy, and take leftovers home, too. Cheeseburger here, despite my previous cattle comment. Hey, everybody's got to eat. And cattle make the best sandwiches, by the way. Liver, I think, tried one time. Here's the thing about liver. You can absolutely do it wrong. Here's the secret. First, you wash it thoroughly with hot water. Wash it, wash it, and wash it. Then you cook it in gravy and onions, and you have to eat it while it is piping hot. If it starts cooling off, it loses all of its flavor and turns into something you can't hardly swallow. But if it's smoking hot, like you can almost not touch your tongue to it, that's when it's good. But you got to wash it. Don't forget that part. You an all right dude. So they say. And if hungry enough, I'd drop down from a tree with teeth and nails. Amen. I once got accused of being able to jump out of a tree with a screwdriver to kill a deer if I needed to. I've never done such a thing, but that guy believed I would. On cattle, that is. I got what you meant. Thank you, Jake, for the compliment. I love you, sweetheart. I do. You like heart? I can't bring myself to eat heart. I have tried it, but I don't think I like it. It's just something weird about eating hearts. Most any critter's heart. Yeah, it is probably really good for you. I mean, it's a very fine muscle, that heart, but I just don't think I can do it. Thanks, Aunt Deb. I love you so much, says April. It's got to be fresh and unfrozen. Amen. And piping hot. Oh, you're talking about heart. I got you. I stayed over at a friend's house in high school days, came to their family breakfast, and all were eating brains, and they looked like brains. I've had squirrel brain before. My granny used to make that. You'd take the head and pop it with a spoon, crack it open like a damn walnut, peel it open, and eat the brain, and it's kind of got the consistency of peanut butter. I don't know, I can't remember what it tasted like, but I remember the texture quite well. I'm not eating no heart. I wouldn't either. Eggs and brain. Is that a Southern thing? Probably damn nutritious. It's a some Southern thing. Like I said, my granny used to do it. I'm not eating them as a grown-up. I choose not to eat brains. I choose not to eat chitlins. There are certain parts of the body that I'll just throw away or feed to the animals. Let the dogs eat that stuff. I'm eating the good stuff, like the backstrap, like the rump roast, ribs, and that sort of thing. And on a deer, I don't save the ribs because there's not enough meat on them. Unless I was grinding it all up, then I'd get them and just add to the grind. But I'm also adding turkey fat and some other stuff to that, so I also do my own butchering, by the way. That's a skill that I tried to learn how to do. I try to be in line with my meals and know where it came from. I do the shooting, and I do the cutting, and I do the cooking, and I do the eating, and I do the other stuff. Gross. It's not gross at all. It's dinner. That's cruel. What kind of brains? It's not cruel. If the animal's dead, how is it cruel to eat all of it? I don't like it, and I'm not in favor of it. But there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's food. It's edible, and it is very nutritious. Like bone marrow. It's the best part of the animal, and it'll sustain you for weeks just eating marrow. But it's gross. This is why most people don't eat it. No judgment coming from a state that celebrates Rocky Mountain oysters, which if you're not in the know, that's the balls of a goat. A Rocky Mountain oyster. Goat balls. That's definitely not a Southern thing. That is somebody that lives in the Midwest who thinks that they're Southern coming up with some stuff like that. I'm not eating no goat ball. But I know people that swear by it. I'm just not doing it. Had to be cattle, I mean. I hope so. They were flat, big, and laying on the plate like red pancakes. I will never forget that sight. I won't either, and I didn't even see it, man. That's horrible. I'm hurting just thinking about it. I'll eat most things that don't eat me. I'll eat anything that won't eat me first, and in some cases, I'll consider it. Way to go, Sasquatch. Hey, it's the top of the hour, folks. Won't you guys do me a favor? When you go out into the world tomorrow, be nice to somebody. Go out of your way to be good to someone other than yourself. Just do that for me one time tomorrow and watch it change your life. Slowly but surely, the more you do it, the better it'll become. And your whole world will open up before you. I promise you it will. Prove with every move you make that God's words are true, and those words will come back on you tenfold. It will make your life better. They'll open doors you didn't even know were there to be opened. It will make you a better person on the inside. Won't you do that? Also, hop over if you haven't done so already to rumble.com/UntetheredLive and hit the subscribe button for me. We're trying to build the channel up over there so that we have a backup in case YouTube ever goes down. We'll just continue on Rumble. That's how it works. We have to have a presence everywhere. And we are growing, and we are getting the Word of God out to the people who need the Word of God. In a time like this, it's very important. So won't you help me fight that battle? Help me in every way you can. If it ain't physically, it can be monetarily, or it can be emotionally, or it can be spiritually, or it can just be by showing up. That helps too. Every little bit helps. Every little bit. Thank you for that. And I will see you guys on Wednesday where we can hang out. And I might do a debunking video this week. I don't know. I got some stuff in mind. We're getting there. I have to go to work in the morning, so I'm going to take her to bed. I love you guys with all my heart. Thank you so much for being such an interesting crowd and having so many wonderful things to say and keeping the chat popping. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me, more than I could express in words. Chitlins is what you're trying to say, right? Geez, what an end. Sorry. Good job, Jake. Cheers and thanks for the smiles. Chat. Chats. Chatarians. Internetonians. Friends. Countrymen. Internetonians. Lend me your ear. I'll check it out. Thank you. Thank you very much. I love you guys very much. Have a great night. Thank you so much for being you, and thank you for watching.